Hello, data storytellers. Today on the show, I have with me Andrea Costigliola, who is the digital director and is working with applications and data science over at Hovione. Andrea, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Laszlo. Very great to be here today.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting conversation. I want to pick your brain about all things data. Before we jump in, for those listeners who are not familiar with Hovione, what do you guys do?
We are pharmaceutical contract manufacturing and development organization. So we work for the pharmaceutical industry. So we produce medicines to other customers, big pharma, biotech, and that's it. So we work for patients to produce high quality medicines.
Mm-hmm. And you've been there since 2016. What landed you there? What attracted you to the organization, and what was your mandate as you joined?
Well, I think it was somehow casual. So it happened because I was looking for an internship in this industry. So I was attracted by manufacturing, and I got a chance to do this internship. There was a very specific optimization problem that they wanted to solve in the quality control, and I just got there, do the project. They liked the project, the results, and I just jump on board. And after that, I've been with the company for almost 6 years today, and that's been interesting because I liked all the part from research and development on the manufacturing part of it, always with the main conductor which was data. So.
Because I see that you started off in R&D, and then you work with knowledge management, intelligence systems, and then your role transitioned into data science to the current one, which seems to be more senior. So what is your role exactly right now?
Now I am a director of a team that does applications and data science. So we maintain and develop a content deployment platform for the whole organization. So it's a role that has a scope, and we really develop. So we have a group of developers, we have data scientists, data engineers. So what we really do is try to connect the organization to the data the organization generates. So we try to enable people to make better decisions by the usage of the information they produce when they work, when they manufacture processes, when they do medicines, when they do research. So we really try to link the dots, to link people to information in the company.
Mm-hmm. And how, I know it's a question that might be hard to answer, but we can begin there. How data-driven would you say Hovione is? So why don't we back up a little bit? What do you think constitutes a data-driven organization? So now you've been in this field for a while. What would be your definition of data-driven? What are your standards when determining if a company is driven by data in terms of their decisions?
Well, that's a tough question because the data is something that is very present in an organization. It's a very latent topic because everything you do actually is generating data from manufacturing process to, as I was saying, as an R&D research. So everything you do generates data. And actually what I think that describes better a data-driven organization is the capability to leverage on those data to make better decisions. So I think that a decision that is very effective in taking decision based on real-world evidence is a data-driven organization. For me, it's not much about technology itself or what programming language do you use, or if you have a data center or you don't. So it's the way you look at the data or what you do, the way you understand your processes and transform that into actionable information that can help you to work better in the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And how did Hovione change over the past 6 years in terms of that? So I know that 6 years is a long time in the 21st century, especially if we talk about data and analytics and anything connected to technology, just because of the sheer speed of how the industry is moving. But what kind of change did you observe during your time there in terms of data drivenness?
Well, I was very lucky because when I joined the company, we were just starting this path forward towards the data literacy, let's go like that. In the knowledge management team, it was very unusual, our approach to data, because most of the time we didn't even have a data set available. So it was just really try to solve problems. Most of the time we didn't got a precise business question to be solved. So it was much more try to understand if there was something that could be improved and optimized in what the company does in any aspect. And we worked a lot with several areas, so like sales, finance, production, quality control, and so on. And I think that our approach to data was always oriented to specific topics, specific questions. And we helped a lot of the organization in, let's say, to forecast capacity, to understand if we were able to accept or not new projects, if we needed to go forward with this expansion plans and so on. So we did many things. But today, what I think that really changed in these years was when we transitioned from several groups within the organization that used analytics to make decisions to a group where in digital, where we started to look at data in a broader sense, as not just use data that was in Excel spreadsheets or in a file stored somewhere or in a database. We start to look at data from a broader perspective, from data governance, the way the company creates data, and when company doesn't create data in a digital form, try also to digitalize those processes so that the information can be captured to be used. So we looked almost at all the aspects in the that I believe are relevant in data analytics surroundings, that are from the data creation up to the usage of this data for models and decision making process. So the change was very huge. We built a strong team and we worked with these same people for all these years. And I think that was remarkable from my point of view.
And what were the biggest challenges on that journey that you saw? So first, we can maybe look at your perspective specifically, and maybe talk about the organization at large as well. But from your perspective, having gone through all those different roles and levels in the business, where did you see the main bottlenecks in terms of Hovione becoming more data-driven?
Well, our path was very regular, so I think that we were very effective in this in devising a strategy and follow that. Of course, we had problems and several projects were not so successful as we would have liked. But in terms of the becoming more data-driven, I think that we still have to work so much on the data creation part and on data governance part, because in pharmaceutical industry, which is a very classic industry, we really have very heavy processes, and so we must be compliant. We need to do a process that are quality driven, and so this creates a lot of needs around data and the way they are created and the way then you use this information. And what I think that we can still pursue is enhancing a level of digital data creation higher than we have right now. So this is a part that I think that we can still go for it.
And then from your view, as you went through this journey, how did your scope change from maybe being more technical to being more strategic and working with the organization at large?
Well, that was very fast, very quick change. It happened in less than 6 years. So I really got in a technical position for let's say 2-3 years at most, and still in the last in the third year I was already managing a small team. But I learned a lot when I was a technical in the knowledge management group. I worked in several projects, and the good thing was that I often was presenting our results of our models to high-level stakeholders, and that helped me a lot to have a broader vision of what the organization was doing, what were the priorities, what we needed, were we looking about efficiency, productivity, more quality, and usually it's always tough to do the balance between those aspects that are all very relevant. You want to be more efficient, but you don't want to lose quality in what you do. So it is also always a trade-off to do, and of course this helped me a lot to know more about the organization and know what the organization needed in terms of priorities. And as I was moving through these roles, I had a chance to work in R&D, then in quality, and then in digital. I really got the chance to know all the aspects of the business, or many aspects of the business. And I think this was fundamental to complete my knowledge, not only about what Hovione does, but the pharma industry in general, and Hovione as a contract manufacturing organization, the interaction that we have with our customers, and in the end of the day, so this was very, very, very relevant for me. I had a chance to work on a project, as I was saying before, for industrialization plans. So we really use data to forecast how our capacity, productive capacity, was going to be affected by the business growth. For instance, we also did a project that I consider very important for my learning process. That was a collaboration with the Portuguese university, where we funded several PhD and research scholarships, and we worked with them on a specific business process of optimization process. And this was very, very good, because we actually got the academia within the industry to solve the problem that was not just an academic one. And we learned a lot. And I think the main result of that is that today we have an algorithm that was developed with them, used in production to help us to take better decisions. So I think all this network of experts that worked with us through these years, the exposure that I had to stakeholders within the company at different levels, was all part of this journey that today makes me have a good vision on what's the next big thing that we need to go after.
Mm-hmm. And then talking about the next big thing, so what are the strategic priorities? What kind of big projects are you working on right now? What is the next station of your data-driven journey?
Well, as I was saying, we are still working a lot on the digitalization of processes. So in a group that has the dual scope of digitizing data and connecting people to data, and after that use those data to serve them in self-service analytics platforms or specific reports and so on. Our next challenge will be to establish within the organization, outside of my team, also a data-driven culture. So we would like that there is no data analytics owner within an organization that is data-driven. We need to have within the business area, we need to have analysts that are capable to look at the data that the organization generates and help that department or a project to go in the right way. So I think that's the next big thing. So it's increased data literacy within the organization, not just within the group. I think that it was fundamental to start as we did in digital, because this helped a lot several governance problem that you usually have when you have the data scientists or data analysts in several parts of the company, because then you don't really know well the data model, you don't really know the sources that you have available, and so on. So we built this strong core, but now what we did is not for ourselves. It serves to improve what we do every day, which is produce high quality medicines.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned some of the governance problems. Can you bring a few of those examples? And then also, what did you do so far to tackle some of those governance issues?
Well, governance problem, I see two types of problems in governance. One is again, and I know that I'm repeating myself, but this process that gets you to create data. So this is a governance problem. Who is the owner of that information, and who guarantees you that what the company is creating around that topic is correct and can be used to take decisions? So this is one problem, and maybe I think it's the toughest one to be solved. The other part is the accessibility of data, and on the accessibility of data, I think that we made major improvements, because if a few years back you needed to ask, let's say, IT to give you some access to that database or to an Excel spreadsheet to do your analysis, today we don't need that. We just have in place several mechanisms and platforms to enable everyone in the organization to be not 100% autonomous, but close to that, right? Mm-hmm. The other aspect is very tough. The other aspect has to do with culture, has to do with the way we do things, has to do with the processes you enforced based on a system that you have in place in the company. And what we did is that everything new that is developed by us or something that we software off the shelf that we buy, we have now, there's some golden rules that we can apply to guarantee that we know who is the owner, we know who grant access to something, we know if there are some rules that are being broken, and we need to act on that. So we have a very preventive approach on data governance to guarantee that what the company generates is correct, accurate, and can be used.
So that preventive approach, I hear this a lot, and it's so important to actually strategically create these processes so that a problem doesn't even come up. Because when you need to address that, it might be possible, but it's very costly in terms of attention and in terms of the resources that you need to put into that. Also, the success rate is much lower as well. So if you do the preventative approach, then everything becomes more seamless. Can you give me some examples of some of those golden rules, maybe just one or two from the top of your head, that you think would be useful for people working in the same area? My main point is not really about the golden rule itself, because I know that it can change from organization to organization. But what I'm curious about is that when you implement this, what kind of resistance you experience from the organization and what it addresses. Can you give me a few examples of that?
Well, I'm not able to give you an example of what those rules are, but I think that we can talk about general concepts around those. And what I think it is very important is the awareness of what we are trying to solve. And most of the time, people don't even think that there is a problem to be addressed. It's the classic sentence, we always did like that, and why should we change? Why should I control that? Why should I care about that specific one? But if you go the other way around, instead of enforcing the right usage of the system, You can go the other way around and say, well, what process I can build within the organization that has nothing to do with digital, nothing to do with data analytics, nothing to do with software management and all of that, but what process I can enforce within the organization that makes the creation of that particular record so important that there is no way that that thing can fail. And we have been working a lot on people and processes before tools. So I think this is the way I see things. And one of the aspect that I mentioned before, when I was speaking about the knowledge management group, is that having the chance to see how the organization works and how what we do impacts on the business before even getting a data set, before even thinking about we need to do a classification model or a forecasting model. I think that's very precious, because that is what gives you a sense of why should we care about that, and why should we try that what the information that we are creating is relevant for a process. So I cannot name a golden rule, but I think that if we look at data from a process perspective before then looking at it just as information, I think it can be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. And while aligning the organization and trying to instill that data-driven culture and create that data literacy, where did you experience, or where are you experiencing the most resistance? Is it maybe the senior management level? Is it middle management? Is it the end users? So where do you see the sticking points in terms of creating that culture, if anywhere?
Well, I don't see that there is particular resistance around this topic. I think that is very widely recognized that this is a need, and this is not something that digital cares about, or operational excellence cares about, or R&D cares about. I think that it is recognized within the company that to make better decisions, we need to have solid bases, solid foundations, and usually we found these solid foundations within data. So I don't feel that there is particular resistance. I see that there is still a lot of work to do to guarantee that processes that we have designed on paper, they are put in place. So this is the tough part, because it involves not just change in the everyday work of a person. It involves a change of many contributors and many people in the organization that should start to look at that process and see how can I change it, how can I create high value information for the company. But I think that resistance I observe is just classic resistance that you have in any project and you need to overcome, but it's not very related with the purpose, because I think the purpose is well recognized, and that's a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. So when you're aligning the organization and trying to engage people, so it's great that there is no particular resistance towards data, but then, as you mentioned before, when you come in and try to impose something on someone's way of working, you will naturally get some sort of pushback, right? So what has been your strategy so far in terms of making sure that data-driven working is being received and welcomed well in the company?
Well, I think that this is a very general question that applies to every kind of project. Anytime you have a pushback, and I think that I tried several approaches to overcome problems like that, and I don't know really what is the right thing to do when you have some pushback on data culture. But what I see is that if you try always to do some step back together with those that are resisting to the change and say, oh, but we're doing this because in the end of the day, you also will have something from it, and try to really not explain the purpose, but make people feel that that mission, that goal is not your goal, it's the goal of the organization. It really matters from an holistic standpoint. And I think that this is maybe what works better. But for that, you need time. You need to have time, and you need to have to be patient. You need to engage discussion, brainstorming sessions. You need to share ideas, because actually no one has the truth in his pocket, right? So you need to discuss about things and understand what works, because sometimes, and I remember a particular project where it was a few years back, where I thought that the right thing to do was it was a logistics project. I thought the right thing to do was all the information must be structured in a certain way, and we need to have the level of stock for that materials that were being purchasing ad hoc, and we need to put order on that process, because after that we could do like forecasting models and several fantastic stuff around that. The way that the process I thought it was correct would have put on the organization was just tremendous and absolute nonsense. And at some point, people convinced me, yeah, I know this is what you show us is great. We know that we can get all of this, but and in the meantime, we'll be just stop working and do what we do for a living, which is producing medicines, and that was really true. So sometimes we need to do trade-offs and think that data is just a mean; it's not the ultimate goal for an organization. So I think that resistance is sometimes useful and fruitful to have those kind of pushback, because after that you will really get to a good agreement on what is the path forward.
And those healthy relationships will then work for you in the future when you're trying to implement new solutions. Speaking of these new solutions, what are you most excited about right now in the world of data? Is there any particular trend or technology that really excites you?
Well, from a technological point of view, I'm very curious about technology. This is something that I always try to be up to date, even in this modern world. It's absolutely complex to know the aspects, and especially when you in your professional career you moved from technical to leadership positions. It's really tough to know what's going on. Again, I see technology as an opportunity, but also a threat, because if you look at problems just from a technological point of view, you will most probably fail, because you lose focus about what is the real problem, business problem that you are going to solve. But besides that, I'm this could sound just a fluff, but I really what interests me most is the intelligent decision making process, or the automatic decision making process. So it is a very powerful for me to look at problems, decision processes, and say, oh, we can take data-driven decisions on that, maybe in a fully autonomous way. But most of the time, what we do is not that. What we do most of the time is inform stakeholders to take decision based on good quality data analysis. But the automation of the decision-making process, in some cases, I think it would be very, very useful to speed up some processes and to help also the organization. But you should be very careful about to what extent you are willing to apply the automatic decision process, especially in risky processes.
That makes a lot of sense. And as a final word of advice, what would you recommend aspiring data leaders, so people who or maybe now in more technical roles, but they have a vision of one day maybe leading a data function or a bigger project, and having a more senior position where they can influence the business through data. What would you recommend them? What would you advise them to pay attention to and keep as priorities?
Well, I think that I don't feel really comfortable in advising anyone to so how should they behave in their professional career. But what worked for me was trying to be always very transparent in communication with my peers and my the senior leadership, and also the team I was working with. I think that an important part is trying to surround yourself with best people, with people that really can help you to make the difference within the organization. This is something that I really recognize we did a very good job to put together a strong team, and I think it's fundamental nowadays that every company, regardless the industry you are in, you consider having a strong data team a priority, because you need to know what you are going to do with data. You need to know what type of decision you want to influence. You need to know if there is a consultant company that comes to you and say, oh, you know, I have implemented this great model in the other pharma company around the corner, and it has 99% of accuracy. You know, it's wonderful. It has you will get a return on investment. It's fantastic numbers. So you need to look at those data and say, oh, but does this make sense for me? Can I? What do I need to do to apply this kind of models to my organization? So I think it's very important to consider data analytics in digital in general as core activities of every organization, because today every organization is digital, is a data-driven organization, must be a data-driven organization. So my advice is surround yourself with best people so that you know how technology look like, what you can leverage on, and how you can then implement in your organization.
Excellent. Well, Andrea, thank you very much for your insights and the conversation. We wish you the best moving forward in your professional career, and we will check in with you maybe in a few years to see how the data-driven transformation is going over at Hovione.
Thank you very much, Laszlo. Thank you very much.